Meghan Markle and Prince Harry were meant to be different. That was the idea, right? The couple who walked away from the strict ways of the royal family to live a freer, more meaningful life. No castles, no fancy titles, just two people trying to do good in the world. They gave up crowns for TED Talks, royal jobs for charity work, and built a brand focused on kindness, impact, and being real. But now it seems like the whole image might have been fake. At the center of this falling image is their charity group. On the outside, it looked like a great modern charity by a power couple. Nice websites, emotional speeches, big deals with huge companies. Millions of dollars came in from people who truly believed Meghan and Harry wanted to help others. But behind the scenes, it's a different story. More and more people are now saying the charity was less about helping and more about paying for their lifestyle. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. Did you click the subscribe button? Great. Thank you so much. Now back to the video. We're not just talking about a few questionable costs here and there. This isn't just about flying first class or staying in nice hotels. Many past employees and charity watchdogs say there was a real pattern. Donations were going straight into Meghan and Harry's personal accounts, often labeled as unclear business expenses. And it didn't happen just once. They say it may have gone on for many months or even years. People close to the charity say the red flags were there. Youth programs were announced with excitement but never really started. Women's support programs were talked about, but the money never came. Environmental projects stayed stuck in the planning phase, while the charity's money slowly disappeared. Staff who asked questions about the money were shut down, ignored, or even pushed out. One former employee said the whole thing started to feel like a fancy brand pretending to be a good cause. That's especially upsetting when you think about how the couple presented themselves. Meghan and Harry built a life after royalty by acting relatable, down-to-earth, and full of purpose. They speak about healing pain, helping people who are ignored, and standing up for those without a voice. That's the exact message that made people believe in them. That's why thousands of normal people gave whatever little they could. It's why big companies gave huge donations. They thought they were building something real. But maybe they were just helping pay for a fancy new home or a ride on a private jet. And it gets worse. This isn't only about broken trust. It might also be a crime. Money experts in the UK are now checking strange money movements linked to the charity. Some sources say big amounts of money were tracked from the donation accounts to secret bank accounts and even personal ones connected to the couple. These are no longer whispers or rumors. These are real investigations by experts who know what to look for. Meghan and Harry have stayed very quiet. No detailed answers, no public interviews to go over the numbers, just short legal denials and pretty Instagram posts. And that silence, it's only making things look worse. Because when you stand on a platform built on honesty, staying quiet starts to look like you're guilty. The charity world is watching. Donors want proof. And people who once believed in this love story are starting to feel fooled. The happy speeches, the photo shoots, the brand deals, they all feel different now that we're starting to follow the money. Behind the scenes, the mood inside the charity changed long before the public noticed. Staff said the mission wasn't clear anymore. The goals became confusing. Meetings became more about appearances than about real action. One person said it felt like working in a publicity machine wearing a charity mask. Inside, there were always promises of big plans. But when it was time to actually spend the money or start the programs, everything went silent. Strangely silent. People who were there say one of the first warning signs came during budget meetings. Workers were surprised how little money was going toward real charity work compared to how much went to outside experts, travel planning, and brand strategy. The problem wasn't just the confusing labels, it was that no one could clearly explain what those words meant or who was getting paid. Some staff said the numbers in the reports just didn't add up. You'd see $50,000 marked as community research, but when they asked what that meant, the answers were unclear or someone else was blamed. No one wanted to dig too deep. Then came the emails. Staff began seeing messages where Meghan or Harry personally said yes to expenses that didn't seem linked to charity work. One former worker said bills for luxury hotels and personal chefs were flagged many times, but still got approved. The reason? It's part of image building. Keeping up a certain look was said to be needed to bring in donors, even if that money was supposed to help homeless families or poor kids. That's when the story started breaking down. Some team members raised their voices, thinking maybe it was all a mistake or just bad management. But when they spoke up, They were cut out of email chains, left out of meetings, and in some cases, quietly let go from the team. It became clear that questions were not welcome. One person even said there was a real list of employees seen as a problem just because they kept asking about the money. Meanwhile, the couple's public image grew even more glamorous. Meghan gave speeches at events, talked passionately about caring and women's rights, while wearing designer clothes that cost more than what some staff made in a year. Harry talked about saving the planet right before flying in a private jet to his next event or photo shoot. It all looked great on video, but in the background, people were losing hope. Financial experts who have seen parts of the money records say there's a scary trend. A big chunk of the money that came in never went to the people who needed it. Instead of giving to shelters or student scholarships, most of the money went to running the charity itself, though even that label seemed stretched too far. When the auditors looked deeper, they found some costs were run through fake companies connected to friends of the couple. That's when things got really serious. To make it worse, some of the big companies that gave money are now looking over their deals with the charity again. These aren't small donors. We're talking huge global brands that gave hundreds of thousands or even millions, thinking they were helping real causes. Some of these companies have stopped payments. Others are asking for full reviews. More than one has removed the charity's name from their websites. The public may still be waiting for clear answers. But behind the scenes, it's clear a big crisis is already happening. The people who once stood with Meghan and Harry, who gave their time, energy, and reputation, are now walking away. The investigation began quietly, but once it started, it picked up speed. UK officials launched a full review of the charity's accounts, checking bank statements, donation records, and overseas accounts. What they found, according to early leaks, was a total mess. Huge money transfers were traced to fake companies and tax shelters, and some payments were listed as consulting fees with no proof of what work was done. The records weren't just messy, they looked suspicious. One source, close to the lawyers, said over $2 million in donor money was moved in just 5 months into accounts that couldn't be explained to the public. Some of those accounts were tied to consultants with no web presence, no job history, and no background in charity work. Investigators now think those companies may have been used to secretly move the money without getting noticed. The whole setup, one expert said, was made to look legit while doing the opposite. What makes this even more serious for Meghan and Harry isn't just the money, it's the intent. In UK law, taking charity money for personal use is a big crime. It doesn't matter if you're a celebrity. If they find out the couple knew about the money misuse and let it happen, they could face more than bad headlines. We're talking courts, criminal charges, and damage to their reputation. Their lawyers have given short statements denying all of it. They blame angry ex-workers and people getting it wrong. But here's the issue. Those ex-workers have proof receipts, emails, complaints that were filed and ignored. Some of these are now with the investigators and show the couple personally approved money uses that had nothing to do with helping anyone. That's when the story starts to fall apart.